If you ask most gamers today, they might say we're in the age of indie, and talk about Hades, Hollow Knight, or Celeste. But for every one of those that hit it off, tons of smaller productions slip through the cracks like Turbo Kid, or The Void Rains Upon Our Hearts. Well, thanks to the fine people at Kitsune Games, I was provided a review code for the new Mario-like Kitsune Tails. And if you're a fan of retro platformers, this is one you don't want to miss. I've been paying attention to the development for Kitsune Tails for a little while now, but what I didn't know is that this was the team behind Super Bernie World, which I thought was a fake game. I simply didn't think it existed. I thought it was a little meme. But these wild people did it, and they've come a long way since then. I mean, look at this game. If I gave awards out, this would be a shoo-in for one of the cutest games of the year. The pixel art is a perfect homage to Super Mario Bros. 3 for sure, but it stands out on its own. To call it a mere facsimile of Mario would be selling this short. While familiar, it's a welcome addition to the genre rather than feeling like a retread. We don't usually get stories like this in games. It's not going to change the world, and it's kind of sparse, but it's a delightful little tale that left me pleasantly surprised. At no point during the adventure did I feel like the story was getting in the way. Instead, I found myself wanting to know more. You're a little fox girl named Yuzu, who packs a punch. Look at how adorable she is. This was kind of a lovely thing for me because purple is my favorite color and foxes are my favorite animal, so I kind of adore Yuzu, and maybe want to be her. So you've just become a messenger and you are on your first mission. The game spares no time introducing you to its heavily earnest and light tone. Your parents are more than supportive and encourage you along the way, while your best friend is concerned but ready to cheer you on. It's a romantic journey, but one that gets to have its cake and eat it too, by also tackling the point of view of someone who's aromantic. And the devs have made no secrets about it, this game is hella gay. And I love that. Adventuring out to save a sorceress you had a romantic encounter with after she saved you, and you get to go on a dance and get her flowers, it's all kind of way better than what we get from a Mario. I know some would argue these games should focus on the platforming and do away with the story, but if it can be done well, I always enjoy these narrative respites. And getting into a level proper feels good. I was able to rebind all the controls the way I needed, and I was off to the races. Look at her sprint. I know I said it before, but holy crap, is this adorable. When you get injured, you turn into a little purple fox. Turning into small Mario and damage is a classic staple, but this is even cooler. It feels like the devs saying, "Oh no, I saw you got hurt there. Well, now you look even cuter than before. Hope that lifts your spirits." Yuzu is pretty responsive. You're a little floaty, but it's by design and feels good once you get the flow down. You can jump on most enemies' heads to defeat them. If you hold down the jump button while doing so, you'll get extra height. You can crouch to slide down hills and even squeeze yourself through gaps if you're a little cheeky. Your run is nice and speedy after building up some momentum and can lead into a big jump. But watch out. You can't stop on a dime like some games. You slide a little at first. Plus, you have all sorts of power-ups that get you cute costume changes and abilities. The most adorable is this little snowman one, and I found the extra flap you could get from the bird one to be super helpful when I got it. Oh, and there are difficulty selections. I chose the hardest one, which meant I could only use abilities before entering a level, but to be honest, I kind of imposed an extra challenge on myself by never doing that. If I found an ability in a level, I used it, but tried to tackle as much of it vanilla as possible. For anyone struggling, there's an easy mode that revives you right where you died pretty much forever, and gives you an extra movement ability, so if you're just looking for the story or to get past a challenge, you can do it that way. I never found the game to be mega difficult. This isn't a Kaizo-styled affair. It's definitely possible there are some extra levels I missed that offer that. There's this empty box on my profile, but I couldn't find where I'd missed it, so I know there's something I didn't get to. Hi, it's Editing Rye here with a note from the developer that has told me there will be these more Kaizo-styled affairs as optional content available after beating the game on the day of release, and I'm personally very excited to dig in. Following the main path though, while it never stumped me for too long, it was a steady pace of rising difficulty and kept me thinking throughout. It's easy to be punished for trying to sprint through an area or to miss some tricky jumps, and the enemies ranging from various bugs to armadillos to monkeys and birds are cleverly placed to get in your way without feeling cheap. I find a lot of these indie platformers can resort to spiteful enemy placements or overwhelming numbers, and this largely avoided that. I'm also a fan of the length of these levels. They aren't the 8 to 15 second Super Mario Bros. 3 levels that you blast through in no time, and they aren't Shovel Knight's absolute gauntlets. This is somewhere in between, and it feels good to poke around a level and clear it of all its goodies. The game is super generous too. You'll have plenty of checkpoints, no timer or lives, and you won't lose anything on death. My favorite levels in this game are the ghost houses. If you know me, you might be thinking, that's probably because you love anything spooky adjacent. That might be almost true. But here, let me show you the first and simplest one to give you an idea. When it opens, you're introduced to these little guys. The skellies look classic but charming, and one is immediately walking toward you. Then, off to the side, are maybe my favorite 2D ghosts I've seen in a long time. They have these cute faces, ranging from confused to annoyed and angry. You notice these lamps emit red light that makes them invisible and incapable of harming you. You go through a door, and for the first time in the game, are asked to move to your left, which is a little puzzling. As you can see, I take a leap of faith myself because I think something might be hiding to my right. You're introduced to another new enemy, these fiery skulls that roll around on the ground, and are shown that there might be lots of tight quarters in these houses. Then a small room to show you that lamps can reveal hidden doors, and then you go to a room with a lamp for you to carry, and it's absolutely cluttered with ghosts in the best way. I found this an extremely pleasing portion to jump through. You're able to pick up coins, and you're perfectly safe from what usually would be dangerous yet gorgeous pixel art. With your guard down, you come to a pitch-black room where you can only see by lamplight. Picking up the lamp, I played around in the dark for a second, but once I passed by the second lamp on the ceiling, it dropped on top of me. I found a safe spot pretty quickly, but then another fell. At this point, I was thoroughly spooked and rushed out of there. Once you're out, you're greeted to absolute chaos. Danger is everywhere. I loved this. I was on edge the entire time, and these only got better each time they showed up. Here's a peek at my absolute favorite bit. Something I didn't expect was for so much of this to be voice acted. I really love the performances of our lead characters. They have great chemistry, and if they didn't record together, they sounded like they did.
You can't just rush ahead without thinking, Yuzu.
I was thinking that the cave mushrooms look delicious.
No, I mean that you need to be careful and not be so reckless.
Okay, next time I'll check to see if there's an Oni in the cave before I enter.
There are times you can feel the budget constraints here. It seems as if there aren't enough cutscenes to flesh out the story, and some moments feel a little weird. One of the moments that come to mind is the transition out of the inciting incident. It kind of makes sense after a later reveal in the story why it happened that way, but the narrative needed a little more ironing out to feel complete for me. But these are minor nitpicks in my opinion. For the moments that do feel rough, so much of this shines. From the music, which you've been hearing the entire time, to the art design, most of the levels, I was just enamored. As an aspiring sound designer myself, I'd also like to mention the sound effects, which are pretty much perfect. They feel like the greatest hits from gaming's past. There's only one big misstep for me, which is in the second act of the game, where you're asked to play as another character with a new moveset to fill in the blanks from the story. I'll start by saying that I easily enjoyed playing as the new character. You're given a sword to whack away at baddies and a bunch of cool abilities to learn, and the story is just as endearing as the first act. But while you have a rad new player character, all of the levels are the same. You have a few new fights added to the map, but it's all of the base levels all over again. I was looking for reasons to go back and play these levels, but I would have preferred that took shape through like in-game medals for getting through level hitless or taking out all of the enemies. But I kind of wish if remixing the levels or giving us new ones was too much, that it was a condensed version to get us the narrative and cool new fights, along with some of the best levels for her moves. From there, I'd like to wrap up the review with positives and negatives. So the positives begin with the story being an absolute delight. Don't go in expecting a Celeste level narrative. This is much softer and smaller in scope, but that's not something to frown at. If you meet it on its terms, I think you'll find a heartwarming piece of queer romance. If having tight gameplay with a smooth difficulty curve isn't enough, the wonderful pixel art, charming world, and driving music seal the deal for me. Now, on the negative side of things, there's the weaker second act of the game, and the bosses. While sometimes clever and always visually memorable, there are no great shakes. But not even Mario has figured those out yet, so it can't be too hard on Kitsune Tails. And that takes us to the conclusion. Yeah, this is an easy recommendation if you love retro-styled games about jumping around on platforms. Kitsune Tails is a perfect weekend game for me when I just need to relax. And when we think about how awesome indie games are, these smaller scale productions should be just as much in our minds as the big ones. Supporting indie developers is rad. If we want them to succeed, we gotta keep wishlisting, following the socials, buying day one when possible, and leaving reviews. So with that said, don't skip Kitsune Tails. Well, that's gonna do it for this review. I certainly hope you enjoyed it. If you did, all the normal shenanigans mean the world. Like, comment, subscribe, and share it with cool people. You can also support me by joining my Patreon or by sending one-time donations over Ko-fi, both of which are linked in the description. See you next time.